afternoon. Doing well.
You start with talking about what, now that you're at this stage of the all-season program, just what your thrust is in these OTAs leading up to the mini camp next month.
Our thrust, I think, first off, I think this is really the first opportunity. We've really had to have a full off-season, full off-season and building it leading up to the off-season program. I think, first off, you have a season, regardless of your level of success, and there's always, things you need to focus on. We're through the player acquisition challenge. It continues, but we're at a 90-man, and so I think clearly our opportunity to build off of what we had last year. Did you feel like, because you don't really get to carry everything over year to year. I think that's something you have to be in tune with. So the opportunity to build off of what we feel like we've established last year, you can really see it showing up, particularly early in the off-season program. I think the understanding of the players and coaches being on the same page, whether we're talking about the connection in the locker room, the brotherhood in the locker room to, the connection with the coaches, creating our space for development. I think we've done a tremendous job there. The participation that we've had is exactly what you're looking for. And, I think back to my prior experience, it was really the third year under different circumstances till you really get it the way you want it. We've been, close to, we're 95%. Attendance, throughout the whole off-season program. We've been 100%, obviously, since we started Phase 3. So you did see all those things lead up to it, and really the thrust, get to your question, is we got to get these OTAs practiced the right way, just because it gives you a chance to, because I've always felt the off-season program, two things happen. One, it gives you a chance to have a really strong training camp because you have to eliminate the learning curve. It has to be eliminated, and you have to close that gap between your veterans and your rookies because everybody goes through it each year, and we're really off to a really good start. I really commend our rookie class and our coaching staff. You can see from the time of the draft, and the free agents are including that 2-week window between the start of the rookie mini camp and now the players. This is a very mature rookie class as far as their understanding, the way they've, this is a feedback from the veterans. They really appreciate the way they've come into the locker room. Listen, learn, ask the right questions, and so forth. So we haven't won any games. We haven't accomplished everything that we would like, but this is we're off to a really, really good start, and that's kind of the state of where we are. But the goal is to get these eight installs, get them repped so that every player knows exactly what's expected of him schematically. What his role is going to be, the jobs that he's competing against, and gives us a chance to line them up because for all you that've been here forever, you just don't get as much time. Work your team in a real competitive environment as you did in the past. Now that may not bother the young people, but it gives me a little angst because you're used to a certain standard of developing your players. So, but I really like the off season that we've put together to date.
Before we get on your football, can you touch on your value? I know you got young kids.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, heavy heart. Obviously, I'm sure like everybody, and this is something we're dealing with. State of Texas, and just this week in general is just. It's mind-boggling. I don't like talking about these things because it's hard enough to think about as a parent. We've been talking about it a lot today, so this is obviously a topic for all of us, here. So, yeah, we got to be better. Responsibilities we have as a community, as parents. It's just. It's just to see this go on in today's world. I find it troubling. There has to be a better way. We know there's a better way, and we need to do the things to make it better. To not to protect the future of our communities. It's just it's tragic, and it makes me sick, like I'm sure it does everybody.
Is this more frustrating for you to process and deal with the older you get, because you've seen so little progress in this area, or really going backwards somewhere?
Definitely, and I'm Irish, and we cry like hell the older you get. I mean, that doesn't help. But no, it's terrible, and I didn't mean to make humor of it. But I'm really just trying to get myself together here. Yeah, it's. I mean, I can't even fathom what something like that happened in today. We're so much better than that, and so I'm sorry.
You discuss this with your family at all? Is that something, or is it, again, it's such a raw subject?
I mean, we talk about it at the dinner table, so yeah, I mean, it's, I have young children. I have a fourth grader, so it's, yeah, well, sorry.
Good?
No.
Oh, we're fine. Yeah.
On a football note, if it's okay to go back for a minute, you mentioned a couple months ago to us the importance of working with the perimeter group this time of the year because of the type of work you can and can't do. How did you feel that went today, and what are your goals for the perimeter group?
Well, I mean, we're working through it. I mean, I like to, think that you're always trying to, work within the guidelines of, what these practices are. But I mean, let's be honest. We went through this last year. You have young players that are really trying to prove themselves. They're bringing a lot of energy. I mean, they're doing everything you ask. But it is our first time on a practice field. So I think we had a handful of plays, yesterday that we need to clean up. We addressed those today in the meeting, and we had some pass rushes today that we're watching as a staff before I come in here. So we got to clean that up, but. Yeah, I think the way we're practicing, and every coaching staff and every football team's going through it because they tweak and adjust these the rules and the drills. But I really do like the work. We've adjusted. I don't know if you've even noticed this. I mean, we come right out of the gate, and so because of the way you have to practice in camp and ramp up, so we're really heavy perimeter emphasis, doing the things that trying to stay away from the hardball type plays that create more collisions, and we're going to have to do that when we get to Oxnard too. So we're trying to emulate that now, so the players know what to expect. So and this is just the way I've always done it as an offensive coordinator. I've always liked to marry the off-season program practice opportunities to the training camp. Now it's gotten harder with the rules, but I think it really helps it when I talked about decreasing the curve between the older players and the younger players. Because I just think it's like anything. If they can get through once and the drills are similar, they get to play a little faster. So you got to ramp up to put your pads on. So the perimeter work is good. We're doing the best we can, but when we get into really next week, install 3 through 8. We'll probably do a little more walkthrough teaching tempos there because once again to stay within the rules.
You get to camp, you're going to have back-to-back scrimmages. The thought process there.
Yeah, definitely. I've never done this. It's a bit of a leap for me personally, but I think obviously we're doing it for the right reasons. I think it's an opportunity to work against 2 AFC teams. You're on grass. All those things. I look at all those factors. Always have. It's an opportunity to go up to Denver before, and it's really risk assessment. A lot of it to work certain players in a practice environment as opposed to playing them in a game. So I mean that's the driving force for me, and just talking to the other 2 head coaches who have done this a lot. I did it a lot earlier in my career in the 90s, but we had teams all around. So I know the benefits of it. But it's just like anything. We're going there to work, and both, all 3 organizations, recognize that. So I'm not interested in any of the other stuff that goes with it. So it'll be quality work, and Nathaniel and Brandon, we've had those conversations. But I think it definitely is something different, and I think it's good for you as a team. We talk so much about the connection of our team. We talked about collection of talent. I think talent's a dirty word. I think every team has talent. Some have more than others, but it's going to take a lot more talent to win the championship. So I think these opportunities that you have a little bit of the unknown, a little more travel, maybe a train ride to down to Irvine, those types of things. I think there's value in all that. But most importantly, I think it gives us a chance to, for our ones, to really practice against each other and just lower the risk of playing in the games.
On that note of ones, is that like if you're scrimmaging against the teams you're playing in preseason games, is the difference in value just that you're not necessarily going to have every player out there on the preseason game field?
Well, I mean, it's just like anything, when something's taken away from you, you have to find a more efficient way to utilize the time that you do have. And what I'm talking about, we still have a 90-man roster, but for example, you're able to go 16 padded practices in training camp, and there's not a chance in hell that you can get 16 in without running your team in the dirt. So you're going to probably come in somewhere around 11 and 12 or 13 if you're practicing, in my opinion, the right way of make sure you have the rest and recovery in there. So, 12 practices. I mean, just to give you a comparable, I mean, in the old days, you get 12 padded practices done in the first week. So now you're going to the whole training camp is 12 padded practice. So I mean, that's probably the negative of being in the league a long time, because you have a vision of how you want your team to practice. You have a vision how you want the team to play, and more importantly, you have a vision how you want that team to come out of training camp to start the season. So, and I'm not here trying to get 38 padded practices in training camp. That's not the point. But I do recognize that, I'm trying to maximize the time to get that done. So the ability to have high quality work in a practice environment, and to be honest with you, once you get past that second week in training camp, and I think any former player or former coach would echo this, I mean, you've already gone through your installs. The guys have been competing against each other for 2 weeks. It's a good changeup. I thought that the Rams practice last year, like I liked the practice. That I didn't really like the timing of it. Just with the Hall of Fame game and all that. But it's I can see why others do it. So we're going to give it a shot. That's a long answer, but I think really the key. I think it does give you a good opportunity to risk assess and play your younger guys more in the preseason games. You got 3 preseason games too.
I believe it was in the situational period today where you had a left tackle that jumped a false start, and then he was immediately replaced with somebody else. Is that fair to say that's part of your team's emphasis on eliminating those pre-snap penalties?
To be honest with you, that's really the way I've always done it. Anytime there was a pre-snap penalty for ever how many years, there's certain things, and not to blame everything on the pandemic. Just like when we got here in the pandemic, we didn't have the time to really have an off season. Like the first time we lined up was training camp, and I mean we had so many other challenges. So I really didn't institute that right away. But that's just something that the way I've always done it, and I understand why you're asking the question because of our penalty ranking last year. But yeah, it's definitely something that once again reinforced. I mean, pre-snap penalties, you definitely don't want them. I can stand up there at an appropriate time to talk about. There's no excuse for it, but that was his second practice listening to a cadence. There's a lot of anticipation. So in going off of what I already talked about, we're going no huddle day one now. We're doing we did 2 minute in our first practice. So we're putting a lot more on these guys early. I think that'll benefit us down the road. So, but yeah, that's a common practice if you've ever been to one of my practices in the past.
Mike, when you have a guy like Marquise Bell, who's an undrafted free agent, and he's trying to make a name for himself, he makes an interception, returns it for who knows if he scores in a real situation there or not. But
well, I think it was out of bounds there, running. What do you call it?
it still was a moment.
It looked
right?
good. It was a great moment for you guys. Yeah.
Our angle is in.
That's a moment for him too. And just how important are those moments to just stand out and do something to try and stand up to the coaching staff?
Well, no, I love your question because you're making a great point there, and he's been impressive. I mean, he's jumped out at the rookie camp. So he's was very impressive in the Zoom calls leading up to coming in here. So that to me that's all about young guys just keep stacking success and then when they start making plays like that too, that definitely helps. But
Mike, how much can he be a hybrid kind of a guy?
Yeah, good point. I mean that was part of our attraction to him too. I think you've seen what we've done with J.K. and the ability for safeties to play nickel and dime, and he definitely has that ability, and that was part of the attraction. That was the conversation we had to draft him too when we were talking about him.
With James Washington, we saw he was in a boot today. Do you anticipate him doing anything in OTAs or minicamp, or is this a long-term
I know he won't work next week, but I can't give you the specifics of that too. It's not of serious nature. I don't think I'm not worried long term.
thing? So what about Jalen Tolbert?
I'm hopeful he can go next week. Yeah.
I know OTAs are voluntary, but any concern about Tyron, who wasn't out there today?
No, actually, Tyron was there all day today, and then right before practice, he hit. I think his lower back was tightened up, so we just played it smart.
Washington tendonitis.
I don't have the specific diagnosis.
Over.
I go there at 4:00, so if you guys are really interested, so I didn't realize we have do we have injury reports? I know it's been a while. I haven't been up here in 4 years or 3 years, so I didn't realize you guys in Dallas are different. I wasn't expecting an injury report for OTAs. So.
It seems like just talking to CD, he's embracing the idea of being a number one. He said he gained a half inch and gained 10 pounds of muscle. Do you see that in him? His words, not mine. but him stepping up and embracing this opportunity to be the number one.
He has to. Of course, yeah. I mean, he looks great. But yeah, this is a great opportunity for him personally, and I think just the way we've established with the offense, particularly the passing game, the ability for those guys to play different positions, to create matchups and make it harder on the defense to double you and those types of things. And my point is him playing in the slot a lot last year and now playing the flanker position. So yes, and we understand what was his rise, and in year 3 that he's going to get a lot more attention from the defense. But he's doing all the little things that are needed to get him ready to be the number one guy.
He said it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
He said it was Dak's request that he move his locker right next to Dak's. How important are those little things to get the chemistry?
So important, and just the fact that Dak and the leadership group are even thinking about that thing, I think shows you the where we are in the locker room. So, and to me, the locker room, connection and brotherhood, and that's all part of the fiber of winning a championship. So, and those things are happening, and I think it's great. And if I was CD, I think you definitely just look at your quarterback a little stronger that way too. So I think that shows the connection that is definitely needed, between the receivers and the quarterback, especially Dak and CD.
Talking to Dalton, he said that he's really emphasizing this offseason blocking, and I know you've talked about the run game and all that too. What do you do with a tight end like that? How do you focus on them becoming even better in the run game?
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the evaluation, topic that I hit on earlier. I mean, we've had a chance to look at it, and it's definitely an area where we feel like we can be better. And I'm not just talking about just the tight ends. I'm talking about blocking the C gap and D gap area. Just the ability to whether capture the contain element, and regardless of what defense they line up in, and you're seeing a lot more 5-man spacing, 5-man line, where defenses are setting edges immediately by alignment. So the stress on the tight end position, or whether it's a back or blocking that C gap area, is something that we need to be better at. And it's been identified, and so I think that just shows you where Dalton's focus is.
This is year 3 for Isaac Alarcon. How do you evaluate his development here since he's had been here?
I think Isaac has been just a steady arrow going up. I mean, he has improved every single year. I think in every aspect of his game. I think his first year, I think he was just kind of figuring it out. Then going into his second year, he changed his whole body. I mean, if you look at him now, he's in tremendous shape. And Isaac is, it's something that we preach to the rookies, and I use him as an example sometimes where, there's not too many weekends or off days that you walk in here and not see Isaac. I don't know if he's in here for the free food, but I'm kidding. But he's here all the time. He's extremely professional. It's really important to him, and I think he's done a tremendous job in developing each and every year. So very proud of Isaac.
He has such a different level of background with football than a lot of the guys on the team. How many moments do you have where just the way he sees something or the questions he's asking reminds you as a coach of the way you can teach it?
Oh, I think he makes everybody better, around it. And he has such a great personality where you would never know it, and he's the first year was, definitely, we need probably do a better job communicating, but with the pandemic and all that, to get through, for that to be your first year and so forth. So he's done a tremendous job. But I don't even look at Isaac as the new, a new guy that's trying. I don't view him that way anymore. He's definitely one of the guys now. I mean, he's worked extremely hard to get to this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.